We live.
All right, we are live here Saturday morning, still broadcasting from my kitchen. Kelly in Vegas here. This is WagerTalk's last call. And I'm still patiently waiting for Art to Caesar's long list. So if you guys want it, maybe time to start tweeting my guy. I'm sure it's a busy day there at the Westgate Superbook. Welcoming our new WagerTalk insiders to the chat. WT.buzz/insiders to join. We got Gianni the Greek coming up first, and then we've got the guys from Full Court Press, Rob Veno, Adam Trigger. We're going to break down all of the college basketball slate with them. If you guys have a question for VR, you guys have a question for one of the Full Court Press guys, drop it in the chat. I'll put a little star next to it, and I'm going to prioritize those with rotation numbers. Now, I know we're a little old school here at Wager Talk, and I need those rotation numbers because I'm on my laptop and I have to use my iPad in order to be able to tee these guys up for the games. VR, I'm going to welcome you in first. We got a big day here on the YouTube channel because you are going to give away your steam room for free to everyone.
Yeah, it's the perfect day because it's just so busy. There's so much college basketball, NBA, UFC card as well. So, yeah, it's the perfect time to have the steam room live and free for everyone to join us. We will be going over the college basketball board. We'll be going over NBA, UFC, obviously. And more importantly, I'll answer all your questions and go over the risk management, bankroll management that I use and that I urge subscribers to use. And more importantly than anything else, we'll go over year-to-date results and what the blueprint looks like between now and December 31st, because our goal is to be profitable in 2026. And if our goals aligned, you're going to do some damage as well. So far, so good, Cal. Up about 50 units for the year. We double up our bankroll at 400. So that's the goal.
That's so far, so amazing news here mid-February headed into March Madness. And I know everybody wants to talk about the college basketball slate, but there is a lot of other sports going on right now. So I kind of wanted to touch on a couple of those before you and I hit a little bit of the college basketball slate. UFC tonight. I want to get your look behind the computer screen over there. If you guys don't know, VR is pretty famous from a UFC betting perspective. That is where he makes a ton of his bread and butter. You guys can catch him on several of their shows. VR, kind of let everybody know what we should be expecting from this fight card.
Yeah, decent card in Houston. And thank you for that, Kelly. I just got a 2-year deal from them, so they'll be sticking around another 2 years with the UFC now that they're on Paramount. I'll give you some of the stuff that I like so far. Let me give you two totals really quick, a little juicy, but definitely the right side. First off is the co-main event, Jeff Neal and Uros Medic, under 1.5, -200 or better, plus EV all day. This is closer to 4 out of 5 times this one gets finished inside the distance, and you got to go under 1.5. But with that said, finishes happen early. With every passing round, the probability of a finish gets cut in half. So that's why, unlike boxing, where they systematically break opponents down, in MMA, it's the opposite. When finishes happen, they usually come early. So we like the under 1.5 there, a little juicy. And then we went under 2.5 in the undercard, Soriano and Brahimaj. Under 2.5. That one also, at least 2 out of 3 times, goes inside the distance. In fact, some of the sharper books I'm looking at now have that at 1.5, but still 2.5s are out there. So those are 2 unders for you. Live dog in the main event, Sean Strickland. Listen, usually -280s, close to 3-1 favorites don't lose all that often. But Hernandez should not be this big of a favorite over Strickland. Strength of schedule is very comparable, but you're paying for Hernandez's hot streak. He's won 8 straight fights, and he's gotten performance bonuses in 3 of his last 4. But matchups are everything, and he uses pace and his cardio as his greatest weapon. Strickland does the same thing, so it's going to be interesting to see who can break who. But again, I can't let it go. At anything +200 or better, I have to bet it. There's value there, but if you're not comfortable throwing a ticket out, 6 out of 10 times, you probably shouldn't be betting +200s, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Even when you're right, you're still going to throw that ticket out 6 out of 10 times. But I'm comfortable placing those kind of bets because I know long-term when the dust settles, we'll be ahead. So that's what I'm looking at. Oh, and real fast, 2 dogs that one of the guys I work with, really sharp, that he bet earlier in the week. He took Dan Ige at plus money, almost 2-1 dog. And he took Phil Rowe also at plus money, almost a 2-1 dog. So he took Phil Rowe and he took Dan Ige, both big dogs, both from a respected bettor. So that's
all right. I know
for you.
I love the UFC stuff. I know our producer Lou is very excited about those big UFC dogs. He's a big UFC fan. So thank you for going over both of those, BR. Another thing that I wanted to kind of pivot to was what we're going to start seeing over the next month and a half here with March Madness. Do you start to get more selective, right? I know your Steam sheet is massive some days, right? Like whether I'm getting stuff from you, whether I'm getting stuff from Art to Caesar, sometimes it can be really overwhelming trying to dissect through. So let me know what everybody should be expecting, like now through, I think, what's the national championship, April 6th?
Yeah. You nailed it. I'm moving a lot of stuff, and I trust that these guys are going to turn profit with these accounts because that's what they do. Whether they're middling some stuff, manipulating some stuff, I don't care. But what I try to do is narrow down where I think are the strongest positions, and there's still plus EV there for my subscribers. And that's where I bring in my power ratings. That's what helps me, because I already have power rated each and one of these matchups today. So I have what my numbers should be. I have my strong lean circled, and then I wait to see what these guys come in on. So I got to be pretty much a day ahead prepared. With that said, because of that, I become a lot more selective. The only nights I ever have volume is if we're betting multiple sports, like today, where it's going to be MMA, NBA, college basketball. You throw in a couple of player props, those are 4 markets. So even if you're only betting, 2 bets per market, you're going to have 8 bets in play. So, that's volume for most bettors. But you nailed it. Between now and March Madness, I've been narrowing down selections in college basketball, most notably, and NBA, where I use my power ratings. But like player props, other markets that I don't do the work, that I just trust those guys and piggyback it. That's the only time there'll be a little more volume. But otherwise, between now and March Madness, I am narrowing down where I think the strongest spots are. And most of it comes from overvalued versus undervalued. It hasn't changed. What we talked about in college football and pretty much in every sport, trying to isolate those teams that the narrative is they're better than they are or they're worse than they are. That's what I'm trying to zero in on. And plenty of those when you have rankings to look at.
All right, let's hear some of your rankings, because those are some of my favorite things. I know you go over them Mondays on WagerTalk today. Our social guys do a really good job of clipping those. But now we've played 5-6 more days of games. Alabama was my lone loser on Wednesday night. They were really frustrating, got taken to double overtime by Arkansas. And I know for a while you had them pretty highly power rated. Tell me where you stand with them and some of the other SEC teams like Florida.
Yeah, I got Alabama right now as the 8th best team in the country. And I don't even know if they're ranked. I mean, the AP, I'm looking right now, they're 25th. So that's a perfect example of an undervalued team. You have a handful of those, and you have some that are a little bit overvalued. Perfect example, the Miami Ohio's. They're nowhere in my top 30, Kel, and yet they're 22nd because of their 25-0 record. Same thing with St. Louis, 24-1. They're nowhere in my top 30. A team like St. Louis, a team like Miami, Ohio, they would be such big dogs to Duke, Houston, Michigan, Florida, Arizona. Those are my top 5 going into today's games. Duke, Houston, Michigan, Florida, Arizona, followed by Gonzaga, Purdue, Alabama, Illinois, and Ohio State. And here's the kicker. The difference between Duke and Iowa State, let's say, the number 1 team and the number 10 team is only about 4 points. And the difference between the number 1 team, I have Duke, and my number 20, which is St. John's, is about 8 points. So it's not all that. There's a lot of parity in college basketball this year. So from number 1 to number 20, only about an 8-point difference, where we saw in, college football, you had 4 touchdown differences between number 1 and number 20. So a lot more parity in college basketball, especially this year. And that's always good for us bettors, always a good thing.
I love to hear it as a Iowa State ticket holder. I do have a 50-1 on Texas Tech, but after losing their best player, I don't feel great about teams like that.
See, but I got them. I got Texas Tech is nowhere in the AP. Oh, they are. They're in the AP. Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, I have them about 15th. They're still up there.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, though, when you lose a solid player that late into the season, right? Yes, sometimes you're going to get teams and they can play well after, but then, man, losing to that Arizona State team the other night was a little weird. I was thinking, okay, is it just because it's their first game without him? What is it kind of going on here? But we'll see.
Before we go to any Steam stuff, real quickly, these are the teams, Kel, that are nowhere in the rankings, that I see nowhere in the rankings. Tennessee, Connecticut, Auburn, Kentucky. Like, those are top 20 teams, and they're nowhere in the rankings. Those are the teams that I like to zero in on, that I think are so much better than their record shows. And then when I look at points scored, points allowed, and you see, wow, Pythagorean wins, they should have more wins. So then all of a sudden dig into turnovers, and what you're going to find is this team's gotten unlucky, or with fouls has gotten unlucky. And that always balances out. And that's why those teams is what I'll go into the week, having written them down and looking for positions to back them. I'm not going to blindly bet them, but looking for spots where I want to bet these teams. Wow, Kansas just got steamed, and earlier it was the other side. Cincinnati was the right side.
Holy shit, VR. Excuse my language. Look at this list that Art Caesar just sent me. It is absolutely massive. So I'm going to send that to you, as well as drop it in the chat for our audience here in just a little bit. But I got to hear what you have on your – whoops, I just sent you the map to the beach that I'm going to with my family later. Wrong copy and paste. All jokes aside, I got you that list right now. It is absolutely massive from Art. And we got to go through and kind of decipher what's going on here. A couple of the questions in the chat also want to know what are the biggest public sides for today? Doug James wants to know, and that's some of the stuff that you can see. What I love, because behind the computer screen and looking into the back end of some of those accounts kind of gives us a look into what the public is betting. Now, it's not an automatic fade, but it does make you feel a little bit better when you're on the other side.
Yeah, and it lets you know what's the narrative. Like, are they all in love? Do they believe this team's so good? And that's what the picture is out there, but your numbers tell you, wait, they're not that good. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm looking for as far as the public sides. And I came loaded for bear with you guys. The 5 biggest one-sided bets so far, all public. Mississippi, that's the biggest dog. They're betting Mississippi plus 12. They love Mississippi today. And then here are the favorites they're on. Grand Canyon, for some reason, Grand Canyon's sticking out a lot at minus 9.5. USC, no surprise, over Oregon. That's a later game. That's getting a ton of money. Cal at minus 1.5. And then Utah State as well. So again, Utah State and Grand Canyon, smaller, teams, conference teams, usually they ain't getting a bunch of public money, but they stick out today already this early. But the bigger high-profile teams, Mississippi, USC, Cal, getting all the money. Totals over in Florida, over in Arizona, over in Iowa State, over in Tennessee, over in Missouri. Those 5, just overs. Nothing towards the unders heavy. Those 5, the first 3, Florida, Arizona, Iowa State, 0 under bets. Every bet is on the over. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, probably 90-10 to the over. Missouri, Arkansas, probably about 85-15 to the over. So a lot of one-sided total action. NBA, only 2 sides stick out. Philadelphia, minus 3.5. Miami, minus 10.5. And I heard there's supposedly a buy order coming out on, I think, is it Sacramento getting 18 against this, whoever's playing the Spurs that are getting like almost 20 points. I'm pretty sure they're going to jump on that dog throughout the day, later in the day.
All right. Yeah, I can see where you like that in the NBA. Big underdogs are always going to be interesting, especially now that the association is back underway. VR, we're going to get you out of here pretty shortly because we got the guys from Full Court Press coming in next, and you have to get ready for the Steam Room. Indeed. Let everybody kind of know what's going on with the Steam Room right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel.
Yep. Right now,
you don't have to be a premium subscriber. You can just go right after this show right into yours, or am I wrong? Is it at 1 p.m. Eastern?
Because I wanted that hour in between where I could do some more work, power rate some more things, and acquire more information. So 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, we will be live. We'll go over all the college basketball. Up right now is the Steam sheet, also the UFC package, and I'm putting together the college basketball pass with my first 5% of the 2025-26 season. Will go off today on Saturday, so cheer that in. Big day. Best of luck to everyone today. Whether you follow or fade, I hope you do some damage. Good luck, Kel.
Thanks, VR. Really quickly, are you selling over on Sportsmemo as well? Are you part of this? Any expert, any place, $7? Do you have anything going on over there?
Yes, I put my 4% over there. If I find like an isolated 4%, I throw that over there. They have a 1% as their best bet there. Yeah, I throw that up there. So as soon as I confirm another play, that'll be over there. I take a little pride in those. The first two I didn't do well, but since then we picked it up, and I try. But I make sure I have a strong play. So as soon as I isolate one, go over to Sportsmemo, that'll be up as well. Those are $25 plays up there. When I put it up there, it's a $25 play, but I'm putting it up there so you get it for $7. That's all I put up there. The only stuff that'll go up there is 4%. That's it.
Okay. That is a hell of a deal. Get a best bet from any handicapper, WagerTalk, picks and parlays, winners and whiners, and Sportsmemo. $7 over at sportsmemo.com. Love to hear that VR is giving heavily discounted 4% plays. That's not what I want to hear as an owner, but it is what it is.
It's all right.
VR, you are the best.
Thanks,
have a very profitable UFC, NBA, college basketball, Saturday, guys. I'm going to drop in this Art to Caesar stuff first, but I got to look through it. So we're going to bring in the guys from Full Court Press. We're going to get right into the college basketball card. Adam Trigger, Rob Veno. Happy Saturday, gentlemen. This exhaustive list from Art has just exhausted me. So we're going to get right into the comment section from some of these guys. I want to see if you guys agree on some of these plays as well. We'll go right into it. Shane wants to know, Texas plus 2.5. Not going to lie. Saw this one this morning. I thought, ooh, that one looks fishy. Who does not want to back the Texas Longhorns today? Catching just a couple of points. I do not have a rotation number. Don't forget, guys, I need rotation numbers here if you get the opportunity, because I am on my iPad that is keyboardless, so I cannot do Control F. Robino, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, guys, we had this game about 3 weeks ago on this show.
Yep.
I think Adam played Texas. I don't know if it was part of the parlay leg, but I know he recommended it. Was kind of a strange game in the beginning. Nobody could make a shot. Georgia had an early lead, but once Texas caught up, it was lights out. And they just extended margin, wound up winning pretty easily in that one. That was the game, guys, if you'll remember. I was talking a little bit about Sean Miller quotes. At the time, Sean Miller was extremely upset with Texas's tendency to turn the ball over. Threw a few expletives in there when talking about his team and their inability to hang on to it. They've straightened it out a little bit since then. They've been better since then. They're not terrific handling the ball, but they've been better. But now you have the revenge angle for Georgia here. They just went stone cold in that particular game. Like I say, they had the early lead. It's possible here at home, and Georgia's playing with a little sense of desperation for sure. Obviously, their hopes of even entering tournament discussion are slipping away pretty rapidly. So I don't know if the season itself, the length of it at this time, if they're hitting a wall third week of February or not. But if there's ever a time to rally the troops, it would probably be today. I'd be a little leery of Texas. I know some fundamentals might point toward that direction, but second time around and a poor shooting performance for a really high-scoring team the first time, I would kind of lean Georgia.
All right, let's kick it over to the Big 12 here, Adam. Rapid fire. Does Kansas bounce back and cover the 10 today versus Cincinnati? I do have the list from Art to Caesar at the Westgate Superbook, and Kansas minus 10 is on that list. Trig, this Darren Peterson drama has really just been like comical for me as a K-State fan, right? Because K-State's not doing the greatest in their own right from a PR perspective right now. But do you think that even comes into play here? Does Bill Self get his team ready to bounce back here against a really poor Cincinnati team?
Yeah, I mean, we know Bill Self can get his team ready. They were able to get ready very quickly and knock off Arizona without Peterson. At times, I feel like they play better team ball without him. I actually don't think that that's like a crazy thing to say. Obviously, he's an elite shot maker, he's an NBA caliber talent. When he's on the floor, he's going to probably be the focal point. But I just found that earlier in the year, it felt like they were just kind of looking at him to do things, whereas when he wasn't there against Arizona, it was just like a total team effort. And they also locked in at the defensive end in that game, which was something that plagued them a little bit earlier in the season. At home at Allen Fieldhouse today, Kel, do I think they're worried about Cincinnati? No. I think that they probably blow them out regardless. I don't think the Cincinnati team's any good. They can't score. Wes Miller's likely done at the end of the year. So it could only be Kansas here. I would lay the points with the Jayhawks.
Wow, that might have been the fastest breakdown Triggs ever had. I only had the opportunity to get one of these art plays in. I was hoping, I was like, I got a good 3-4 plays I can lock in here. All jokes aside, let's keep going. I did not post Arch Sharp action. I was waiting to get to 1,000 viewers, guys. This X not streaming to our different channels is really hurting our numbers. So make sure you guys hit that like button. Give us some love in the comment section. I promise I will drop Art's sharp plays here very, very shortly. All right, here's one I feel like is a Rob Veno-esque. Does Colgate bounce back and cover the 8.5 versus Loyola, Maryland?
Very possible. Okay. For me, I'll make it simple with Colgate, obviously, and I hope you can get enough plays in while I try and help you out here. For me, Colgate's really simple. They're a over team total wise for me. I don't like to lay points with Colgate simply because the defensive end isn't that good. The Loyola Maryland side, can they keep pace? I'm not so sure, but I would say this. In my instance, because I only look at Colgate from a totals perspective, I wouldn't have a strong opinion on side other than I don't trust Colgate to stop anybody. What I would say is I search for the rotation number here so that I can try to make take a stance on total.
Here, I'll jump in, Rob Veno. 150 is the current total, and I was just looking at the art list, and they bet under 152. Sharp group. So this one's come down 2 points on the total. Do you agree with that move?
Because it's Loyola, Maryland, I can understand it. A tendency to slow the game down a little bit. Colgate will have to make a lot of shots here. Their team total, as I'm staring here, is 78.5, 79.5. Maybe a bit pricey against this particular team. Loyola, Maryland, 70.5, 71.5. Could see a little bit of under there. But again, I don't trust the Colgate defense. So I apologize for not being able to answer on the side because I just don't look at Colgate that way. But total wise, looks like money's leaning toward the under.
Trig, do you have an opinion? You sound
I mean, you should be Colgate. You got to come to me. That's right in Trig's backyard here, Hamilton, New York, 20 minutes from my house. Listen, Colgate got put in a really bad scheduling spot earlier this week. They played an overtime game with Navy, who's the best team in this league. Probably could have won that game if they hit their free throws. They go to OT and lose, and they get sent out to Boston to play the national TV game on Monday night. So the Patriot League really usually plays Wednesday, Saturday, but they will play the national TV spot 6 p.m. Monday. That was a terrible scheduling spot, having to come off the Navy game and then go out to Boston U to play that game. They got destroyed. They're back at home today. Their 1-3-1 zone will probably force Loyola into some threes, and Loyola's not the team that should be just be chucking threes on the road. So I lean Colgate minus the point in this one. It is a big number, but I do think they probably cover it. And I think all of that supports the move to the under because if they extend that zone and Loyola can't hit threes, they're probably going to lose.
All right. Well, because you took Colgate, I'm going to kick this one back because this is Rob Veno's backyard. Veno, on WagerTalk today, what day was I on? Wednesday? It must have been Wednesday. I gave out Xavier. And I said, this is going to be interesting. I did not think they were going to win the game hour. They're a 15.5-point underdog. I thought, what's going on here? I mentioned that I thought UConn was too overvalued week in and week out, right? And everybody's like, well, they're not overvalued. They're 8-16 against the spread or whatever the guy put in the comment section on WagerTalk today. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. The bookmakers are still. But now here we are. And UConn seems short here on Saturday.
Yeah, they do. And there's a difference between being overvalued and playing well, but not being able to cover large numbers and laying large numbers and not even coming close to covering those numbers. I put Michigan in the category of being overvalued at the start of Big Ten season, laying a ton of points, winning big, but just couldn't cover because the numbers were substantial. Their team totals were substantial. They'd score 89 and couldn't get over their number. For UConn, it's been a little bit different the entire season, right? Other than about 3 instances, they've laid huge numbers and not come close to beating inferior teams. We've talked a lot about this on the Full Court Press show, how weak the Big East is this year. They really don't have anybody that's any good other than St. John's. Villanova, give Kevin Willard credit. He's done a lot with this team in his first year. But UConn's now back in that price range where Michigan ended up. If you think back about 4 or 5 games ago when they went to East Lansing and all of a sudden they're only laying 1.5, 2.5, and now you can play Michigan. And Michigan destroys Michigan State in that game. Then, of course, Michigan comes back against Purdue. Same kind of story, lower price range. Michigan covers pretty easily. They can win and handle those numbers. I feel that's the same for UConn here today. Still personnel-wise, UConn's the far superior team. They have a 1 through 9 that, 4 of these guys probably start for Villanova. Danny Hurley's comments were interesting after the last loss to Creighton where they gave up 91 points. And Danny Hurley said, I've got a bunch of really good man-to-man defenders on this team, and they've gotten progressively worse as the season goes on. Really good defenders don't get worse. They just get lazy. So you wonder if this team is going to answer the call of their head coach or if they just, they roll their eyes and say, that's just coach talking. I think they respond here. Connecticut's got to get up on the horse. This is the time of year to kick it into gear. So at this price range, Cal, I do think UConn's a pretty good play. Despite it being on the road, they're not affected by any road venue. And I just don't know that Villanova can hit enough threes against this defense to be able to cover. So I like UConn here.
All right, let's go to the SEC. 706, 705, 706. Mizzou is headed to Arkansas. Arkansas is down to 9.5 some spots, especially at the Superbook. Minus 109 there for college basketball on Saturday, by the way. Trig, talk to me about this Arkansas team before you guys popped on. I was talking to VR. Alabama was my only loss on Wednesday. And I was kind of frustrated by them because I do think that they're a better team. But Arkansas exerted a lot of effort trying to go into Tuscaloosa and get that win here. Do you think maybe this is a little too many points and we should be looking at the Missouri Tigers?
For me, no. I've been saying this for weeks. I love this Arkansas team. Rob and I have been talking about this on the show. I think I've come on this show and said it 3-4 times that they were just going to continue to get better as the year went on. And I don't have the numbers in front of me right now in terms of the run they're on against the spread. But the last 3-4 weeks, they've been on a really good run against the spread. They've covered most of these games. Yeah, they could, that was an incredible game earlier this week. So if you want to make the case that they just played, this crazy overtime game with Alabama and, Acuff scored 49, played all those minutes and they maybe could let down, I guess I can see that. But for me, I'm just not fading Arkansas at this point. Acuff, this is the point Rob and I made a couple times throughout the last couple weeks. Any other year, he is the freshman that's getting all the publicity. He's the one that's being talked about, but he's in a class with Boozer, with DeBansta, with Darren Peterson. And I almost feel like because he's down in Fayetteville and Arkansas doesn't get quite the love that some of these other schools get, that he's just not getting the attention he deserves. 49 points earlier this week. I'm just not betting against Arkansas. So you're asking the wrong person if you're looking for an anti-Arkansas breakdown. It's Razorbacks or nothing for me.
Hey, that's fair. That's why we ask you the tough questions. Yes, Kelly's going to drop our sheet. Kelly has about 14 more plays to put in for herself because she is selfish, because she has to work Saturdays when all of her family is at the beach. Yes, if you were tuned in earlier, I accidentally sent VR the link to the beach we're going to today versus Art Caesar's long list. I'll drop it for you guys here pretty quickly. We are only 150 away from 1,000 people watching. We get 1,000 people. Give me some likes, give me some loves in the comment section, and I got you guys. I will be sure to drop it. Shout out CT Bets and Merrimack last night, minus 3.5. I have no idea how the hell we got to cover that game, but I loved getting to wake up to that winner. Speaking of CT, here is a night. Oh, Memphis wants to know if you're going to the Toledo game today, Trig.
I'm not. I'll be at Yale, though.
Okay.
I will be at Yale, and then I will be at New Jersey Institute of Technology at night if you are around in the, I guess, Newark, New Jersey area. No, I just threw this hoodie on because it was in my bag. But I do kind of like Toledo today. I didn't know someone would ask about it. So
all right, fine. Tell us about Toledo today.
Really more of a fade of Eastern Michigan for me. Toledo's a team that they're not as good as they've been in years past. I would say it's one of the more average teams Kowalczyk has had there. But for me, this would be just a willingness to fade Eastern Michigan off of they finally won a game. They had a pretty substantial losing streak in conference. They go out and I believe they beat Central Michigan earlier this week, which is another just disaster team in that league. The top of the MAC's gotten a lot of publicity this year with, of course, Miami of Ohio and Akron's having a really good year. But there are some bad teams at the bottom half of this league. And I kind of think Eastern Michigan is one of them. They hit the road, and Toledo's been a team where if you can't like really zone Toledo and force them into a bunch of tough shots, they should score pretty efficiently. And I think they're going to do that here. They come off the Bowling Green loss, which was last week. Big rivalry game. Those two schools maybe a half hour apart. And they've had a week to prepare. Toledo's lost 3 of their last 4 games. So the number feels right here in the 8.5 range. But this is one of those ones where I just think you had Eastern Michigan finally win a game earlier this week. Toledo's been sitting around all week preparing for a home game against a team that they really should just destroy. So this is a scenario where I would just lay it with Toledo. Eastern Michigan had something like 9 straight losses ahead of the Central Michigan win. And I think they're going to get buried here. So lay it with the Rockets, probably a 10+ point win.
All right, let's kick it back over to Rob Veno. Titan CT, rotation number 685, Ohio, is a 6-point favorite, but -113 there on the odds logic screen over Northern Illinois. Talk to me about the MAC, right? VR and I talked about his power ratings earlier. He said, okay, Miami, Ohio's undefeated. They're number 22 in the nation. Get real. It's still the MAC. They are not a top 35 power rated team. Talk to me but about this Ohio Bobcats team laying 6.
Yeah, I would trust the Ohio U offense in this one, Kelly, against the Northern Illinois sporadic offense. I mean, Northern Illinois doesn't have all that much going for them, even on the defensive end. Generally, it's pace. It's a pace-controlled defense. In other words, they play defense by just limiting possessions. But I think Ohio U's got enough firepower to speed it up a little bit here. So laying this type of number in the MAC isn't easy because it's such a conglomeration of middling type teams. And you don't really trust a bunch of them as favorites. You kind of look towards underdogs in this league. But in this instance, I think Ohio U does have enough on the offensive end to get them through a 6-point number here. So I would look their way. I'd even look their team total up and over in this one. I don't think Northern Illinois provides a heck of a lot of resistance in this game. So for me, I'd agree with Titan CT. I'm going to backtrack real quick here for 2 seconds because I was like the little kid in the corner of the 2nd grade classroom raising his hand when Missouri and Arkansas came up. I'm just going to add real quick onto that Missouri-Arkansas game, quick comparison here. And Missouri had a win a few weeks back, guys, where Mark Mitchell chucked in a 3 in overtime, and they had to go to Alabama the next game. Alabama was home off of a loss. Thought that Missouri was in a really bad spot going to Alabama, playing that type of extreme tempo. They got absolutely slaughtered. They go to Arkansas today, kind of under the same circumstances. Mizzou wins in OT against Vandy on earlier this week, 81-80 in a kind of a miraculous win. And now they go on the road to Arkansas, who's off a double overtime loss to Alabama. Again, extreme tempo type team. I don't think Missouri does well with this type of team. So I see the number coming down to 9.5. But to me, that's probably guys betting against Arkansas, somewhat of a fatigue factor, having to go double overtime at home in Bud Walton. I don't see it that way. So just a little comp there for people looking at the Mizzou-Arkansas game. It kind of shapes up as the same thing as what happened with the Missouri at Alabama.
Yeah, I just dropped this an exhaustive list in the chat and somehow got an error message by the WagerTalk YouTube channel because it's that long. So I'm going to try it again here, guys, and let you know from Art to Caesar at the Westgate Superbook. Error occurred. YouTube is rejecting your comments. It thinks it's spam. Okay, great. We're going to work on that on the back end. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to go through a couple more of these. Trig, I'm going to tee you up. Looks like a sharp group bet Syracuse +1 right now. They are a 1.5 point favorite on the odds logic screen. Let me know what your thoughts are here as far as that goes. Do we miss the boat on the orange?
I mean, I don't really know why you'd want to bet this team to have to win a game at this point. Like, I get UNC's had some injuries, but Syracuse basketball is in the worst place that I think it's been in my lifetime. They had like this. It's going to get entirely blown up at the end of this year. They're trying to hype this game up as this was supposed to be. So every year, Syracuse, like since we joined I say we, but since Syracuse joined the ACC, there's always been kind of like the one big home game late in February. That's like the game because of course they killed all of Syracuse's natural rivalries leaving the Big East, that they try to get like 30K at the Dome. And it's like the big deal. And that's what they're trying to hype this up to be. It's not going to be that. They'll probably get 20,000. It's just such a depressing state of the program right now that I just don't know how you could take them to like you have to win the game. And North Carolina, even with a couple injuries, is still probably a better team than Syracuse. So it's just like, I guess like I can see both sides here. UNC didn't look very good earlier this week against NC State. And of course, they're missing two of their better players. But Syracuse is just a bad basketball team. They're poorly coached. Red Autry will be gone at the end of the year. They're going to completely blow it up. Everyone knows it's going to happen. So, man, it's just like you're asking for it, in my opinion, to back Syracuse. Like Syracuse has like a dogger against a true lesser team. Like the other day, they had a couple of back-to-back wins against what I felt were true lesser teams. I still don't know that UNC is that. And UNC should be up for this game after, the last couple results. So, yeah, I have zero interest in this game. But I would like caution against thinking Syracuse is a good idea because that program is in a bad place right now, Kel.
Maybe they will fire their coach with cause. Okay, let's go into some more of these questions. I'm fine. CT Bats wants to know about the biggest game on the board, at least in the Big 12. Houston is taking on Arizona. I don't see this game on the long list. And of course, right? Like the sharp groups aren't betting these big marquee games, but everybody else wants to. And I can promise you right now, we should be looking at this game to be maybe a preview, we'll call it, of the Big 12 championship. Hopefully not for my Iowa State card, but I could see both of these teams making a deep run in the tourney. Rob Veno, what say you? Houston, that is correct, Andrew, is starting to there's some 6.5s popping up on the odds logic screen right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Big 12 is kind of falling into Arizona and Houston's lap, right? JT Toppin down at Texas Tech. There goes their chances. BYU, Richie Saunders down. There goes their chances. And what you're left with is Iowa State, as you mentioned. And, with Darren Peterson checking himself out of games, who knows? Bill Self said that maybe their season goes down one of these games in total because he just doesn't feel that he can go anymore. So it's an interesting game. I'll say this. I love Kelvin Sampson in this type of spot. I was surprised, very surprised, commented on this yesterday on some other show. They opened 5.5. Houston did. I was like, man, I was hoping for like 3.5 against Arizona, but no, the odds makers aren't dumb. They opened 5.5. But Kelvin Sampson off a loss, like what they had at Iowa State the other night, where they're up 10 with about 4.5 to go, and Iowa State makes the comeback and wins the game. That's the kind of spot where you want Sampson. He's got the motivational aspect here to get his team fired up. We know that Arizona's a tremendous rebounding team, and Houston's going to match up on the boards with anybody, so it takes away one of Arizona's strengths. Houston on their home floor here. Look toward the first half at 5.5. I thought, well, maybe I'll, isolate it and shave the price down and play Houston first half because that's been a thing for a while. We talk about that constantly. I just feel like they're the better side here in this particular spot. You come to this point in the season and you find yourself playing a lot of these situational plays and hope that the odds makers don't overprice things. They may have overpriced this a little bit, but I'm going to say this about Arizona. Koa Pete still absent for that team kind of hurts them on the boards. I think Houston can take advantage, and they've got a ton of scoring here. So I would look towards Houston still at this price. I kind of understand the line shifting upward in this game.
And I just totally screwed up. Portland State is not Portland, so go Portland. This is what I get. Usually Art sends it to me beforehand. Shout out Ski. You're right. For Houston first half. Shout out to our good friend Ski Profit there. Okay, let's go through some more of these questions that you guys have. Oh, there we go. Another big game on the board. 768 Duke being an underdog to Michigan. Trig, I know you don't do a lot with power ratings, but you talk to a lot of sharp guys like I do in terms of power ratings. And our good friend Sean loves to tell us in the comment section how much better Michigan is than everybody. But VR told me Duke's still power rated number 1. His is Michigan 3. So that would mean Michigan's got a decent home court advantage here. Talk to me about the Duke Blue Devils, catching 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do plenty with power ratings. It's just I put less stock into it where it's like, I know you have some people that will just basically spit out a rating. And it's like, okay, my number's here, the market's here. That's going to be a play. I'm factoring like a lot more. I'm weighting things differently, I guess is what I would say. So from a power rating standpoint, I have Michigan rated ahead of Duke. Now this is on a neutral court. This is it is a strange game, right? Like I think this might be the new normal in seasons as we go forward, but really haven't seen many of these where you step out of conference to play like this massive non-conference game on a neutral court in the middle of February. I will say that like my number here kind of leans towards Duke. I don't really think either of these teams should be an underdog in this game. I understand why someone would like Michigan. Here's the thing, Kel. I think you can make a really good case for both sides. For me, I think if Duke can slow this game down, get some stops, they're going to be right in it. So, Cam Boozer is another one of these freshmen that's just phenomenal. And again, in a different year, there's just so many of them. I feel like in a different year, he's getting all the attention. This year, he's had to share the attention. But man, like I was at Cameron Indoor last week. I feel like Duke sort of toyed around with Clemson, still won by 13. Just destroyed Syracuse earlier this week. And the reason that's relevant is there was a point in time earlier this year where I didn't feel like Duke was fully focused. They were coming out and not beating these teams like the Syracuses of the world by margin. They were coming out and playing bad halves against a team like Louisville. Duke kind of looks locked in right now. And so for that reason, neutral court, I do think Duke probably has the majority of the fans here, although Michigan fans travel well. So even if you call it 50-50, you got a team that's an underdog on a neutral court that I just don't know that should truly be an underdog. And that is like the razor thin. Like there's not much difference between, like, this is probably a Final Four game. And as you know, Cal, you get to the Final Four, it's really tough to you can make really good cases for both sides. I think the case I'll make here is I've got this closer to pick. So if they're going to give you a bucket with Duke, maybe you should just take it. It should be that kind of game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And thank you for the correction there. Neutral site game. Look, here's some of the things I like to do, Rob Veno. I get notifications for John Ewing's tweets because I do think that BetMGM is a square book, if you will, right? So when I look on the odds logic screen and you see the Circas of the world, you see the Superbooks of the world, and then you see BetMGM is off market and you're going, what am I missing here? The number one based on money, both bet team today, Michigan minus 2.5. So I thought that was worth noting. The second, Arizona State plus 6.5. The third, Kansas minus 10.5. So is that anything that you ever like to look at, Veno? Do you feel better when the public's against you, or is it just not something that you ever pay attention to in your handicap?
I'll say this, Kel, because it's a little of both. It's not something I pay attention to, and I do feel better when the public is all one way and I'm the other. You know what I mean? So I don't make a habit of incorporating it into a handicap, but I will say that if the freight train is going one way and every $50 bettor is involved, and I'm the other way, then I'm feeling pretty good about things. We used to, back in the day, we used to call it kind of the ESPN effect. By the time ESPN realizes it, it's too late. The value's gone. And that's kind of the way you feel in college basketball at this point in time, with people just starting to pay attention. So of those three that you mentioned, it's interesting to me that they would be on Arizona State against, I guess Baylor's just flat out untrustable. But,
no, Arizona. I'm sorry. It was Arizona versus Houston.
Oh, okay. Arizona. Yeah.
Arizona.
You know what? To your point, that I'm happy I like Houston. If they like
okay,
Arizona.
There you go. You love to hear it. we'll see how that game pans out. I don't think I'm going to get involved. I did drop Art's card in the chat, guys. And for some reason, it kept glitching out on me. So let me know if I need to read those off or try to break it up because it was so freaking long. And no, Sean, we are not talking baseball. Trig will be back all summer long as his punishment for being a giant pain in my ass by doing total bases on Saturday for you guys. So you guys can ask away all of the baseball questions after April 6th. Thank you for your understanding. Let's see if there's some more questions in the chat. I love to give
Cal, don't forget, we still got a 3-team parlay to lock in. So
yes, you're right. Completely forgot about that. Let's do Rhode Island and LaSalle and then full circle it into your leg of the parlay. Good call, Trig.
Man, I got to think if I want this to be my leg of the parlay. I just don't. I won't commit to that just yet because I guess my thought process here is I don't know how Rhode Island pulled that off against St. Louis earlier this week. I mean, I just haven't. I've been out on the Archie Miller Rhode Island Rams for a while now, even going back to last season. They've gotten worse last year to this year, and it's not even like they were playing great ball, and they step up in the home spot and beat St. Louis, something that, no other team in the Atlantic 10 was able to do to this point. And now they have to turn around and go on the road and play a team that's probably comparative to them. They're right in the same, like Rhode Island, LaSalle, I think are actually pretty even. If you want to talk power ratings in the A10 from a power rating standpoint, yes, Rhode Island is 6-7, LaSalle's 3-10, but you start to get toward the bottom of the A10 this year, it is not great. That's a league that, not very deep this year. Once you get out past like the 5th, 6th teams in that league, it's just a lot of bad teams. And that's kind of what I see here. LaSalle, they've been better at home, but like what I see is a basketball game between two bad teams. Rhode Island having to go on the road, and suddenly, because Rhode Island sort of pulled off this win over St. Louis, which I think had more to do with St. Louis playing poorly than it did Rhode Island just being a team that we should now like look to back because they got that win. They're like a 4-point road favorite. So yeah, well, I was torn between a couple things, but someone brought it up. Let's throw LaSalle in the parlay. I will not be at all surprised if Rhode Island turns around and loses this game, and you're getting like 4 points to work with. Let's go with the Explorers today. +4, I think, for the parlay.
All right. Art's list basically helped me codify the fact that this is a great spot for Kansas State. Rob Veno mentioned the injury to Texas Tech. I was on Arizona State first half the other night, like late. I was like, all right, let me just see Texas Tech off this huge win. Maybe they start off slow, and they ended up losing that game outright. So I'm going to take KState +12. Here in a spot where I think this team is wanting to show off what they can for their future teams, right? We all know that most of these kids are going to transfer after head coach Jerome Tang was fired. But I do think these kids want to play for Matt Driscoll. And I'm just going to keep it very basic handicap. I think this is still too many points for a Texas Tech team who's not going to be fired up after that Arizona State loss to play a very, we'll call it downrodden K-State team who I think got a really nice moral victory over Baylor the other night there at home. And I think they carry that over. Yes, Sam, they are a dumpster fire. I think we should say we're a dumpster fire. So Kansas State +12. Did I sprinkle a little bit on the money line? Yes, I did, because I'm still kicking myself for not sprinkling on all the other money lines I missed this week. Rob Veno, give me your leg of the parlay, and then we'll finish with the rest of your questions in the chat.
All right, I'll stay in my lane and play a team total. Trig will like this. I'm going to go out to the Big West and just play a team that, we've talked a lot of Big West basketball on the show so far this season, but Cal State Northridge has been one of those that's been really good to me all season long. This won't be one where they're playing in front of their black background, which helps the shooting, but it's one where I'm going to play their team total over 80.5. Cal State Northridge is on an absolute roll at this point in time. Tough break for Santa Barbara the other night when Northridge beat them in OT, but Northridge right now is on a 6-game winning streak. But inside that 6-game winning streak, guys, 6-0 team total over the number, all 6 times over what they're asking us tonight for, which is 80.5. They've scored better than 80.5 6 games in a row. Long Beach State, one of the middle to bottom tier defenses inside this league this year. And there's a revenge angle for Northridge in this game. They lost at home to Long Beach State. At this point in time, late February, you would say, how the heck did they lose to Long Beach? But they did earlier this year, January 17, 87-80 home loss. Even in that game, in a losing effort, they got to 80. I think they get to 81 here fairly easily. You always have to avoid Northridge foul shooting. They're just not good from the free throw line, like under 61%. But they score enough. They play at a rapid enough pace. They play these 78-plus possession games constantly. I think it happens here again. Like I said, I don't want to. I do want to bet on a team that's on a roll like this, and especially a team that can score in bunches the way they can. So give me Cal State Northridge team total up and over 80.5.
All right, Rob Veno with the team. Yes.
Real quick. I added LaSalle for clients, so I just want to let people know. I'm going to give it on the show. I let you know. So LaSalle +4. Even if you have to lay -115, -120, so there's still 4s out there. There's some 4 -115. Even if you had to go as far as to 4 -120, or I mean 3.5 is probably fine too. I sort of pulled up my numbers. I make them a slight favorite, and the more I just think about it, it's just a horrible spot for Rhode Island to turn around. You're getting 2 possessions with it in a game that's very even, and now you got Rhode Island in a bad spot on the road. So yeah, LaSalle client play. I just wanted people to know that.
Perfect. Really quickly, I asked VR the same question, so I need to know for you guys. Do you guys have a play up on Sportsmemo right now? Any expert, any play, just $7. He said he was putting up his 4% plays over there, and I was like, whoa. Like, I think we may need to back that up. I don't want us giving out 4% plays for $7. Trig, do either one of you guys have anything over on Sportsmemo?
Mine is going to be up as soon as we end here, Kel. I've got 4 up already. I'm going to shift one of those 4 over to Sportsmemo. It's a night game, so it'll get a little bit of shelf life, which makes the top half of the organization happy when you have extended shelf life. But that's where we're going to go. Yeah.
Sweet. Love to hear that. Trig, are you in trouble?
Well, I just gave the one that was going to go to Sportsmemo for free. So, I mean, it's just like, what do you can't hold out on the chat. We're talking about the game. I mean, I would have added it. So I've got 2 plays locked in right now. The beauty of Saturday actually is I don't even know if it's almost like the struggle when it comes to Saturday. You have a lot of opinions, a lot of games. I typically kind of add throughout the day. So right now I've got 2 plays, both 4%ers. One's up on the WagerTalk site. The other I just gave you on the show, and they're both kind of early. So I found I've had better success kind of like revisiting some of the later games. If I love something later, I'll lock it in obviously early. But the next thing I play will go to the Sportsmemo site. So yes, there will be something there at some point today.
All right. A lot of guys are saying they still didn't get this list. I'm going to try to get this art list in. Nope. Kick is saying they hate me and I'm spamming. Oh, it did go out on YouTube this time. Thank God. Okay, let's kind of go in here and see if we got any more questions. There we go. Let's ask Andrew. This is one that Rob Veno dressed for the occasion. Baylor, 7.5-point favorite here, coming off that KState loss. How do you think they respond today, Veno?
Yeah, I said what I said earlier, Kel, about Arizona State, just because again, situational 3rd week of February type plays. Arizona State's off that huge win that you talked about with Texas Tech, straight up win the first half, win the full game, now travel to Baylor. And the thought process here, it opened at like 5.5. So maybe value's gone at this point in time at 7.5. Literally the counter to anything I say in favor of Baylor would be, well, Rob, how do you trust Baylor laying 7.5 to anybody? And that's, obviously taken pretty well. But I just thought Arizona State's still not a great rebounding team. Not that Baylor's the best. I feel like Arizona State extended themselves the other night in that victory against Texas Tech, kind of celebrated off of it. Bobby Hurley kind of reaffirmed to himself that he's a great coach that can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the Big 12. And that's kind of stuff feels like cloud 9 to me coming into a game against Baylor where they're just in desperate need of a win. They're not the most trustworthy team, and maybe not at -7.5, but I would look their way. I'll leave St. Bonnie to Trig, so he has a little A10 basketball to talk about. But again, I think it would be more of a fade of Arizona State than it would be a play on Baylor.
Yeah, I can see that as well. It seems like a lot, like you almost want to back Arizona State there. I did not see if they were on that long list. Trig, go ahead and talk to me about St. Bonnie's +1.5.
It's another team in my neck of the woods that is having a disaster of a season. But theirs is more just like, I think they they've been a little bit, they've been as much unlucky as they've been just not very good. That being said, they got to go to Richmond tonight. And, Richmond's been unlucky. I was at Richmond last weekend. They came all the way back from down 20 against VCU after they did not get a call all first half. I think they cut it to 2 or 3 and fell just short. And the same thing kind of happened earlier this week. I actually hit a 5% play on Wednesday with Richmond plus 5.5. Same thing. Could just not figure it out early, dug themselves a huge hole. They come all the way back to take a lead in that game, and they fall short. This is at the Robins Center tonight, 6 p.m. I kind of think Richmond gets it done. But the problem with Richmond is they take a lot of threes, and they're a high-variance team. So if the threes are falling, the outside shot is falling, they probably win this game pretty easily. If it's not, it's a game the Bonnies can win. And ultimately, for me, there wasn't enough wiggle room on the number, although I did see St. Bonaventure take a little money. So I would be willing to play back at that. It's not something I've played yet, but if I was going to play it, now that the Bonnies got hit, it looks like by someone, it was 2.5 down to like 1.5. I would only play back and play Richmond there. I just think they're the better team. They're playing harder. And if the threes are falling, they could run St. Bonaventure out of the arena.
All right, let's talk to Rob Veno really quickly because we've got a nice promotion for you too with the Full Court Press show. Rob, tell me about Full Court Press for anybody that hasn't seen the show. It's been absolutely crushing on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Really awesome to see a daily college basketball show. And then what you guys have up for a special over at wagertalk.com.
Yeah, real quick on the show, Kelly. Monday through Friday over on WagerTalk TV. You can catch Adam and myself 10 a.m. Eastern time to 11 a.m. Eastern time, 60 minutes each and every day, 5 days a week. And then, of course, the 45 that we do here with Kelly on Saturday, kind of an extension of the show. But basically, we open with one featured play, likely to be the top national game of the day. We'll dissect it. And then we just open it up to the chat. Your guys' questions, we'll answer them. Game that you want to hear about, we'll give you our handicapping process on that particular game. So it's been fun. We've got a really good chat. Guys are very knowledgeable in there, and we love the donations. I'll let Adam chime in on the donations because they seem to donate to us quite a bit on that show. As far as specials are concerned, the Full Court Press 3-day special, I think, is still in effect. It's been in effect for quite a while now. 3 days, you get all of the plays Adam releases, all of the plays I release. That includes any 5%ers. I always say it's a good mix because Adam plays 99% sides. I play 99% total, so you get a little mix of both. I think it's a $59 price for 3 full days. Now we have a Full Court Press season special, double the CBB firepower for the entire season through the national championship game. Get the combination of both of us for, I think it was $359 I saw this morning, $359 for both of our plays throughout the national championship and all the little tournaments to go with it, NIT, et cetera, that crown thing that they play in Las Vegas. But we're big on little schools, so we'll be there. We'll have action on it. So once again, double the firepower, double the CBB firepower, either a 3-day package for $59 or full season package right now. Both of us combined for $359.
Love it, love it, love it. You guys have been doing such an excellent job over there. Adam, I will give you 1 minute, and then I'll give Veno a last minute. What was one game today that narrowly missed your card? Tell me why it missed your card and, maybe why somebody else should be taking a look at it.
Yeah, we can do that. So narrowly missed my card. Later today may still get added. I'll be at this game. It's Vermont at New Jersey Institute of Technology. Why did it barely miss? Well, I was kind of hoping for where it opened 3.5. It's up to 4.5. Maybe NJIT will take money. Why do I like it? Because I just kind of think that this is where Vermont flexes their Vermont muscles, if you will. They're always the best team in this league. This year, they just got blown out by UMBC on Thursday. They are looking up in the standings at NJIT and UMBC. You just never see that. Maybe Vermont just isn't as good this year, and they weren't last year, but they still have one of the best players in the league, and Yalden, and I still think they have the majority of the talent. Maybe UMBC has more talent, but certainly New Jersey Institute of Technology does not have more talent than Vermont. So it's one of those things where NJIT has had just the best start in the history, I believe, of their program, certainly that I can remember. I don't ever remember New Jersey Institute of Technology having a season like the one they're having this year. But, man, I think they catch Vermont at the wrong time. They just got slapped around by UMBC the other night. I think they roll into Newark a little bit upset tonight. And if that's the case, Kel, 4 might be a little cheap. So yeah, that's one that narrowly missed my card, but I am considering it. Vermont, we'll call it -4.5. I think that's where it is right now.
All right. It just hit noon, but I'm going to keep this going here really quickly because I'm going to tweet out Art's card as well. So for some reason, you guys didn't get it on one of our channels. It will be on my X. Veno, narrowly missed your card. What is one game that maybe people should take a second look at, or maybe you can talk them off of betting a side that you almost bet?
Yeah, it's hard to take a look at it now, Kel, because it's going to tip. But Virginia Tech just missed my card today. They're going to be they're a noontime start. They probably just tipped, but play Wake Forest here because of what happened in the middle of the week. Wake Forest really good against Clemson. Virginia Tech, another tough loss. Virginia Tech coming home with a little bit of a revenge angle here against Wake Forest. I wanted to play Virginia Tech in the worst way, but they're just not good enough or reliable enough to lay the points with. I was hoping for a little bit less, didn't get it. At the time, it was 4.5. That's why I didn't play. I see now it's been bet down, a little bit of Wake Forest money come in. But that was the one that really, I was pretty gung-ho, to tell you the truth. Last night when the openers came out, I'm going to play Virginia Tech. Looked into it a little deeper, paused. And you know what happens when you pause? You kind of lose. It went up to 5, and then I said, I just scratched it. And now, of course, at this price range, I probably could have played it.
All right, I finally got my last bet in. Mississippi Valley, I was able to get a whopping nickel on right before tip-off. We'll take it. Shout out to Veno. Shout out to Adam Trigger. Shout out to VR. He's going to be
recap the parlay, Cal. Got to recap the parlay.
Kansas State, KState Northridge, team total over LaSalle. That is our parlay for today. We've gone 2 out of 3 too many times. I was a loser.
Yep.
Trig was a loser, and I think Veno has actually been perfect on this. I think I finally hit one last week when Trig was gone, and then Maine did not help us out. But we're gonna try to go
second half.
3-0 this weekend for you guys. Again, shout out to everybody hanging out with us through the technical issues on X, and for some reason it not letting me post the 32 college basketball games from Art to Caesar with the Westgate Superbook. They are loaded on my X as of right now. At Veno Sports, at Adam Trigger WT. You can catch these guys full court press Monday through Friday, and an extra bonus edition here on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. For those guys, make sure you guys head over there, WagerTalk YouTube channel. Give us that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you guys on Monday.